So we're adding the translation now. Okay, so last time we learned that if we get a question, right, get a function, you need to write it out as y equals to a, and then the function, and then bx, right? And a and b both control different things. A controls the amplitude, right? So we don't say vertical expansion anymore, right? We just say amplitude. And amplitude is the absolute value of a, and then period is using the value for b. I think it was Eric. Okay, for the first 2 or 3 questions, I think you got the period wrong, right? You put down the extra x. Have you looked over your homework yet?
Not yet.
Not yet, right? Okay, so later you can take a look, right? You had extra x, but then somehow later on in other questions, you did all right, right? So suddenly you got it right. Okay, so you don't need the value for b. It's just the coefficient. It doesn't include variable.
Wait, on my homework, it doesn't have an extra.
What's that?
Wait, what do you mean by extra x?
Let me see. Okay, hold on a sec. Okay, and then we went over at SOS, right? We use SOS to find the x values. Okay, so today once we add in translation, then the function will have 2 more letters, right? Other than A and B, we have C and D, right? So the form, for example, it will look like, let's write it on the top, okay? So on page 50, y equals to A, and then if it's sign, right, then you write sign, and then B, x minus C, it has to be minus, and then plus D. Okay, so total we will have 4 important letters. Sometimes some of them will be 0. Then you will have no. For example, if there's no D, then there's no vertical translation. Okay, so if you think about the story form, the C is with the X, right? So the C controls moving left or right side. Okay, so if it's C is if it's X minus 3, that means it's moving to the right by 3, just like the story form that you learned before. Okay, and then the D part, the plus D, you can move it to the left side, right, with a Y. So it has to do with the vertical translation, so moving up and down. Okay, so look at an example here. So we're gonna start with the sign basic, right? So please graph the sign basic points. We always have 5 points, right? So if you finish graphing the basic one, please raise your hand. And also fill out the table. Okay, make sure you memorize these standard points. Sine graph, remember it starts from 0, go up, go down, go up, right? And we'll keep the same scale. Okay, if you finish graphing the basic one, please raise your hand. All right, let's check the values for A, B, C, D in the examples now. Okay, so on the right side, we have a sine function that we want to transform. Okay, so what's the value for A? William?
Value for A.
Yeah, for the question on the right side.
-2.
Yep, A is the -2. Okay, and what's the value for B? Cindy?
1.
Yep, very good. Okay, because there's no number in front of the X, then it has to be 1, invisible 1. Okay, next one, what about value for C? Trudy?
Value C, what?
Yeah, what's the value for C?
For C, it was.
You know where we are looking at?
Yes, but.
Okay. We have A, B, C, D, right? So what's the value for C in this question?
Not sure.
You know where to find it?
Pi?
Pi? Okay. What about Donna? What do you think? Do you think that C is also pi?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. What about Ray? What do you think the value for C is?
-pi.
You think it's negative pi? And
Yeah.
Iana, what about you?
Pi.
Pi. Okay, so let's look at the form, right? It has to be x minus the c, right? You have to minus c value. So right now the question we have, okay, need to move it. The question we have is x plus pi. So we need to think about x minus what value will be the same as adding a pi, right? So this part, you can write it as x minus negative pi, because negative will give you positive, right? Will become plus pi. So you have to rewrite it so you can tell the c value, all right? So this number, negative pi, will be the c because it has to be after the subtraction, right? Now, if you want to do it faster the next time you see it, if you see an x plus pi, if you see a plus, you just make it opposite, right? If you see a minus pi, then the c is pi, right? If you see a plus pi, then it will be negative pi, right? You just do the opposite, then that will be the value for c. Okay, so that's the tricky part about c, right? So c controls horizontally movement, right? So negative pi, let's fill that in. Okay, what about the value for d? E-ray?
-1, I don't know.
Okay, well, d has to be after the big bracket, right? Adding some number. Here we have subtraction, right? So add something has to be the same as -1. We could just use add a -1, right? Because add positive and negative will still be negative, right? So whatever that comes after the bracket, it will be the d value. Okay, so for d is easier. Okay, just whatever you see is the d. That's -1. Okay, so once we got the a, b, c, d, we can start to find the story. Okay, so we'll talk about the translation later. So can you please write down the first two parts? The reflections, okay, stretching, SOS. Okay, remember for stretching the S part, you need to write out amplitude and period. Okay, so when you finish these three parts, please raise your hand. Reflection, amplitude period, and size of space. Please raise your hand if you finished. Just R, S, and size of space. Okay, Cindy, do we have reflections here?
Yes.
Okay, what kind?
Reflect over X.
X-axis, how do you know it's X-axis?
Because
Where do you find that?
there's
What
a
tells you that?
is it not?
It is, but I need to know why.
Because the negative, because y is divided by -2.
Yeah, okay, so the negative value for the A, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, very good. Sometimes I ask, it's not because you're wrong, right? I just want to make sure you got it right because of the right reason, right? Not because, oh, there's a negative pi, right? Okay, so reflect over x-axis. Okay, now next one is the amplitude. So what's the amplitude here? Donna?
2.
2, okay, very good. Amplitude is 2. So make sure you put absolute value around the -2 and then equals to 2, all right? Next one is the period. Okay, what's the new period? And I would like to know how to get it as well, okay? So Trudy, how do you find a new period?
By using 2 pi over, what is it?
Can you speak closer to your mic?
By using the form 2 pi over, what was it? Oh, absolute value b.
Okay, so what's inside the absolute value here?
It's 1,
Yeah, so what's the answer?
2 pi.
2 pi. Okay, so the period did not change at all, right? Whenever the b is 1, that means there's no expansion or compression, right? So it's the same. So how do we find the size of space now? William?
I'm not sure
Have you
exactly.
forgotten what's size of space?
It's a space between the important dots, right?
Yeah, and then it cuts the whole period into how many equal sections?
Uh,
The graph, right? It has 5 dots here.
Yeah.
How many equal sections are there?
4.
So you need to divide by
4.
4. Okay, the whole period divide by 4. So what divide by what then? What's the period that we got here?
Pi.
Okay, William, you have to do your homework. Otherwise, you cannot answer the question.
Okay.
Right? Period that we just found, truly found it, right?
Oh, 2 pi.
It's 2 pi. Okay, so we take that period and then
2 pi over 4.
yeah. Okay, there's no change of period, so we just use 2 pi. And we can simplify that into
Pi over 2.
over 2. Okay, so I'll stress one more time. Okay, doing homework is so that every time when you learn something new, right, the things that you learned last week, it's gonna affect what you learn next, right? Everything is connected. Okay, so the new things here is the translation. Okay, so we have a c is negative pi, so that's gonna affect which direction of movement. Eric, which way are we moving?
To the right.
Okay, so C controls, because C is with the X, so it's either left or the right side, okay? So if it's negative pi, then it's actually moving to the left,
Oh,
okay? So this
okay.
here is X plus pi. So when you see plus pi, it's actually to the left side, okay? I don't really remember it from the story form, okay? Let's go a little far back, okay, to the story. Let's see. Right, we have 3 rules for the story here. Right, remember the T, and I ask you guys to test each one of you one by one. Right, add, when you see adding, it's either down or left. Remember this part, right? When you see subtraction, it's either up or right. It's still the same rule, okay? But those rules are for story form, okay? Right now we are not changing to story form, but we have to think of story form in the head, okay? So let's go back to that page. So in this question here, you have x plus 3, right? So adding means either down or left, but because it's with the x, so it has to be left, okay? So this one, we will say it's moving to the left, but in trig, we are not using that word, okay? We have a different word for trig, just an amplitude and period, right? We did not say horizontal or vertical stretch expansion, right? We use amplitude and period to replace that. So same with the translation. The new word is phase shift. Okay, so it's going to have a phase shift going to the left by pi. So we'll say phase shift of negative pi. So we don't say the direction. We have to find the value. So that's why it's important to get the correct value for C. Okay. Now the next one is the -1, right? Remember when you do the story form, this -1 has to go to the left, right? So it will become y plus 1. When you have a y plus 1, what does that mean in the story? Tiana? If it's y plus 1, what does that mean?
Down.
Yeah, so adding will be either down or left, right? It's with a y, so it'll be down. So it'll be moving the whole graph downwards by 1. Or you can just look at the value for D, right? C is negative pi, so we're going to the left. You can write that down, left by pi. This one, d is -1, it will be down by 1. Or you can think about the story form. Okay, so either way. So, but then for trig, we also have a new way to say going down. We have to say vertical displacement of -1. So same thing, we are not saying any direction. We just say vertical displacement. -1, negative means going down. Okay, so make sure you just get the correct value of A, B, C, D, and then you just use that. Okay, so if A is negative, there's a reflection over x-axis, right? If there's a B value, then there is a change of period, right? So we don't say compression, expansion anymore, okay? We talk about period here. And then C is negative, it will be going left. C positive, going to the right. D is negative, going down. D positive, going up. Okay, so just make sure you get the A, B, C, D, then the translation, the story will be easy. Okay, so now we need to get a new table before we can draw the graph. Okay, before we get to there, do we have any question? If you are clear with everything here, can you show me hands? Anyone has question about getting the story right? Please raise your hand if you are okay. All right, so let's look at how we get the points. So, for example here, okay, the previous question. To get the y value, you just look at the a, right? A times y, right? Because a controls the amplitude, so that's up and down, right? Y is up and down. So same thing here. We just take the value for a, right? Value for the a times it by the y. I put it at the wrong place. Should be the new table. Okay, so a times y. Now because we have a vertical displacement of going down by 1, right? So we need to also subtract 1. Okay, so ay subtract 1, you take the original y, 0, 1, 0, -1, and then multiply by a. This a here is -2, right? Multiply by -2 and then subtract 1. All right, so once you finish the table for y, please raise your hand. Times it by -2 and subtract 1. Okay, Cindy, can you tell me the first two values for y?
-1.
Okay, go on, move on. Next one.
-3.
-3, okay.
-1.
Okay, next one is Trudy. Can you continue? The fourth one,
1.
it will be 1. And next one, Trudy,
-1.
-1. Anyone has something different here? Okay, everybody agree? Now let's look at the x values now, okay? X value is a bit different, okay? So let's look at, because if we try to get the x one by one, okay? Because the original one has a lot of fractions here, right? Sometimes even, like sometimes every single one is fraction, then it will be more difficult, right? It takes a long time to work with fraction, add and subtract. So instead, right, let's go back and look at how we did it before, like how you did it in your homework. For x value, all we need to use is the SOS. Remember, right? It tells you the gap between all the 5 important points, okay? Now, because there was no translation, so your initial point was always 0. Right? You always start from 0 and then keep on adding the size of space, right? Keep on moving to the right. Now, if there's a translation, right, there's a phase shift, then that will affect your beginning point, okay? So your first point is no longer 0. Your first point, you have to use your phase shift. Your phase shift is negative pi, which is your value for C. So you start with the C, okay? So your first point will be negative pi. Once you know the first point, then you start to use your size of space to keep on adding, okay? Because we didn't need to do this before because it was 0, right? And it did not move left or right, right? So now because there's a phase shift, so you have to change your beginning point to start with, okay? So after that, you just apply the size of space to do the jumping, right? So what should be the next one then? First one is negative pi. What should be the next place? Donna?
Negative pi over 2.
Yeah, very good. Okay, you just add a half a pi, right? And keep on adding. What's the next one, William?
Negative. It's a negative pi over 2, and then you add the pi over 2.
Yeah, add the
So
side.
then 2 pi over 2.
Think about how do you write it out. Don't think in your head. Which two do you add together?
You add the pi.
Can you tell me what adds what?
Pi, 2 negative 2 pi plus pi over 2. Negative pi over 2 plus pi over 2.
Can you write it down?
Okay.
Okay, write it down so you can look at it. Negative pi over 2 plus pi over 2, right?
0.
Yes, right? See, it feels different when you write it out, okay? If you just do it in your head, right, you might miss something. So it will be 0. Okay, next one should be what? Cindy?
Pi over 2.
Yeah, okay. And then Samantha, what about the last one?
Pi.
Pi, yes. Okay, very good. Right? Each time you add a half a pi because your size of space is pi over 2. Okay, so you start with C and then use size of space. Okay, so you can write out on the side here, start with C, use SOS, okay, to get other points. And then for y value, it's very straightforward. You just do the AY and then plus the D, okay? So here, let's use the letter plus the D, right? The D here is -1, so you add a -1. Then that's how you get the y values, okay? Let me write it again here. So for y value is AY plus D. The example that we did was -2y minus 1. Okay, I think this way is clearer, right? Right-hand side, it tells you how to do it. All right, so now we got all the points. We need to just plot them out, okay? Make sure we are keeping the same table, the scales, okay? Keeping the same scale. So each little box going up is by 1, okay? Going down as well. And then this is pi, 2 pi, right? Negative pi. Okay, so please finish plotting the points. Once you got the points, connect them. Raise your hand when you are done. The first point is negative pi, -1. Negative pi over 2, and then -3. So it'll be down here. 0, -1. Right, and then next one is pi over 2, 1. Pi is -1. Okay, so you can see that the period is still the same, right? It started with negative pi and then finishes at pi. So the total length is still 2 pi, right? It's the same length as the basic one, but then it got taller, right? Because there's an amplitude of 2 now, right? It got 2 times taller. And then the whole thing got shifted down as well, right? You can see the middle line. Okay, you can draw a middle line with dotted line there, right? It used to be right on the x-axis. The middle line is called a midline. Okay, and then your vertical line, the y-axis is also got shifted, right? Your beginning point is new point. It will be at negative pi, -1. Okay, it used to be just at 0, 0. Now the whole thing shifted to the left, shifted to the downwards. Okay, so you have a new origin. Okay, so please label that new origin. That point is very important, okay, for later. So right now I just introduced that here, okay? So later when we mention again, think about this example, okay? Midline, which is like the new x-axis, and then vertical axis, the y-axis is a new place, okay? So this will be a standard example that includes translation, okay? So I would like you to try question 16 now. Okay, so this time, all by yourself, okay? So start by writing out ABCD, and then use the ABCD, right? Your step 1 is to write out ABCD here. After you do that, you go to the story. After you get all the story, fill out the table, and finally you draw the graph. Okay? So this one shouldn't be too difficult. Okay, I did not. It's not as long as the last one. Okay, so I'll let you try this all by yourself first. When you finish up to table, okay, up to number 3, raise your hand. Okay, well, make sure your table is right before you plot your points. Okay, so do everything up to number 3, step 3. Okay, let's check the ABCD first. William, what's your ABCD?
I got A 2,
Yeah,
B -1,
good.
C 0, D -1.
D -1. Yeah, very good. Okay, so this one has a C equal to 0, which means there's no phase shift. Okay. Any question, Samantha, Tiana, Trudy? If you finish the table, please raise your hand. Or if you're stuck on any step, let me know. Okay, let's check the story now. Okay, Donna, do we have reflection here?
Reflect.
Reflect.
Y-axis.
Y-axis. How do you know it's y-axis?
Because it has the y. It has a negative at the x.
Yes, very good. Okay, so from the story form, right? We learned that negative with the x reflect over y-axis, right? That rule still apply. So this one should be reflect over y-axis. So we see that when B has a negative, it's y-axis. If A has a negative, it's x-axis. Okay, different. All right, and then the amplitude. Okay, Tiana, do you have the amplitude here?
Yeah,
What is it?
2.
Yep, very good. Okay, and then the next one, period. Can you try this, Trudy? What's the period?
Period is 2 pi.
2 pi, so no change. So 2 pi over absolute value of -1, which is like 2 pi over 1. So this one doesn't change. Okay, next one, size of space. Cindy?
Pi over 2.
Pi over 2, very good. Okay, so we take 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi over 2. So no change, when you have no change in period, that means your size of space is the regular one. Okay, now there's no phase shift, right? C is phase shift of 0, so you can say no phase shift. Okay, and then what's the vertical displacement? Ray?
-1.
Yep, vertical displacement of -1. Okay, let's check the y values first. I would like to know how to find the y, okay, not just the number, right? So tell me the formula to get the y values. So Eric, what's the formula to find the y?
AY plus D.
So what's the number?
Oh, 2y minus 1.
Yeah, okay, so 2 times y minus 1. And then you have to think about this one is a sine graph, right? So you have to make sure you use the original y for the sine, okay? Don't use the cosine. If the question is a cosine, then you use the cosine, okay? They both start differently, right? Sine starts from 0, cosine starts from 1, okay? So please tell me the new y values now. Samantha, what's your y value? What's the first y?
Not sure.
Do you know the original y? Do you know the y value for the original sine graph? What's the first number?
0.
Yeah, so you put that 0 into the formula. 2y minus 1, put it in, and then you can get the new y.
-1.
Yeah, go on. What's the next one?
1.
I cannot hear you, you gotta speak closer.
1.
1, okay, very good. One more, can you give me another one?
-1.
Yeah. Okay, and Cindy, can you continue? What's the next y?
1, -1.
Also 1, -1?
Oh, wait, -3, -1.
Yes, okay. It will go down to -3 and then back up to -1. Okay. Think about the direction that it's a sine graph, right? So make sure you also think in your head. It start from here, from midline, go up, go down, go down, go up, right? It should follow this pattern because there's no reflection over x-axis. So it will start from the middle line and then go up, go down, go down, go up. So when you check your y value, it should follow that as well, right? Go up 2, go down 2, and then down 2, and then up 2, okay? Now for the x. How do we get the x values now? Ray, what's your x value?
0, pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi.
So there's no change of size of space, right? So looks just the same. Anyone got something different? Can you raise your hand if you have something different? Then everyone is wrong.
No,
Oh,
negative.
huh? What?
I put negative.
What do you mean negative?
Negative pi over 2.
Why?
Is it like the space thing is a negative?
Well, the size of space is always positive because
Okay.
it's just talking about how wide the space is. So why is there a negative here?
Because of
Reflect
period?
over.
Huh? Say that again, Eric.
Reflect over y-axis.
Yes, okay. Reflection over y-axis. That's a tricky part, right?
Yeah.
When we think about reflection over y-axis, that means it's gonna flip over to the left side, right? Look at the graph that I drew up here, the little sketch. The one I drew is going to the right side, right? Moving to the right by 4 spaces. But if there's a reflection over y-axis, then the new graph should be walking towards to the left. Okay, so it'll be going up, going down, going down, going up, but then the direction is going to the left. Okay, the middle line is the y-axis. So if there's a reflection over y-axis, when you take the step, you have to start from 0, right? Remember that you start with the C. C is 0. Start at C, right? C here is 0. But then your size of space combining with reflection, you have to go to the left by pi over 2 each time, okay? So it will be subtract size of space minus, okay, let's just write minus pi over 2, okay? Because it's going to the left, so you do subtraction. If it's going to the right, you keep on adding pi over 2, okay? Little trick, little trap here, right? Because we got to include every part of the story, right? You cannot say, oh, I just write out reflection over y-axis, but when we do the table, we just ignore it, right? You can't do that. Okay, so let's fill out the table, fill out the points. So please make your own scale. When you finish the graph, please raise your hand. So very tricky here. You can put a star on the reflect over y-axis. Okay, you only need to do subtraction with the size of space if it reflect over y-axis. Okay, otherwise it's just a normal one. Okay, let's check the graph, right? So 0, -1, negative pi over 2, 1, right? And then going to the left, negative pi. So go up, go down, right? Once you recognize the pattern, you don't really need to look at the table, right? As to go up, go down. So that part is open down, open up, open up. Okay? So each question you have something to learn, right? The first one is just learning the general meaning of translation here, right? The next question you have to remember, watch out for reflection, okay, over y-axis. Okay, so this one, I let you try a cosine graph. Okay, so think about how would that affect your table. Okay, so same thing, I'll let you finish up to the table and then we'll check that. I don't think this one has any trap, okay? Just make sure you use the cosine points. Okay, so please raise your hand if you finished everything up to table. Anyone has trouble here? Let's check the ABCD first, okay? Because if you get ABCD wrong, the rest will be wrong, okay? Eric, what's your ABCD?
A equals -3, B
And then?
equals 1, and -pi, and 2.
And 2, okay? How about Cindy? Do you have the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So make sure your value for C should be -pi, okay? The phase shift should be -pi. Remember when you see adding, right? Adding is either left or down, right? In a story form. If you are confident of your table, right? If you are sure your table should be correct, you can continue with the graph, okay? If you are not sure, you can wait for us to go over. Okay, let's check the story. William, do we have reflection?
Yes.
Okay, what kind?
Reflect over x-axis.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, Trudy, do we have amplitude?
It's it's 3.
3, very good. Absolute value of -3 will give you 3. Okay, period. Please raise your hand if you finish the table. Ray, what's the period?
I got 2 pi.
Okay, so no change here, right? So size of space will be no change as well, also pi over 2. Okay, translation, phase shift. Tiana, what's the phase shift?
-pi.
Good. And then next one, vertical displacement. Donna?
2.
2. Okay, so it goes up 2. Okay, and then now the y value. What's the formula for getting the y values? Cindy? Cindy, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the formula for finding the y values?
I didn't have a formula.
You did not have the formula. Did you have the y value then?
Yes.
Okay, what's the first y value?
-1.
Okay, and how did you find that?
I just plotted it on the graph.
Plot it on the graph. What do you mean?
Like I reflected over x-axis and then to like the amplitude by theory and stuff like that.
Oh, you change point by point.
Yeah.
By one? Oh, okay. Well, let's think about it. If you reflect over what used to be what? What's the original y value? The first point?
1.
1. Okay, so if you reflect over, where would it go?
-1.
Yeah, very good. So 1 become -1, so you need to times it by negative, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And what happened after that, after you reflect? Let me write it down. 1 will become -1, and then what do you do next? You say you need to change the amplitude, right?
Yeah.
So what happened then? Where does that point go?
Goes up by 3.
Say that again. I can't hear you. Did you say something? Cindy?
I'm thinking about how I did it.
Huh?
I'm thinking about how I did it.
Because you got it right. You got -1 is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how did you get -1? It's not just reflection, right?
No.
Okay. So you forgot how you did it?
Yeah.
You didn't put it into the graphing calculator, did you?
No, I don't have one.
Okay. Well, then how did you do it? It's
I don't know.
that's interesting. Okay. Well, you changed the amplitude. That means what's amplitude here now?
3.
3, right? So it'll be 3 times taller, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do?
Move it to 3.
You multiply by 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so -1 will become -3. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
right? So first you got reflection used to be 1, it become -1, and then you make it taller, so it become -3. And what else comes after that?
+2.
Because
of the vertical displacement.
yeah, you want to move the graph which way?
Up.
Yes, moving up 2, right? So you need to add 2. That's how you get the final location of -1. Okay, so let's recap what happened, right? We multiply by negative and then multiply by 3. So that's like -3y. That's how you get the formula. You times it by -3. And then after that, you need to add a 2. Okay, Cindy, understand how we get the formula?
Yeah.
Remember last question, we wrote out the formula. Did you copy it down?
Yes.
Right here.
Yeah. AY plus
AY plus D. That's the formula. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So you just know the A and the D, then you can write out the formula, right? So the next Y value should be what? William?
I got 2.
It'll be 2. Okay. And then next one, Ray?
5.
5. Okay. Next one, Tiana?
2.
Good. Next one, Donna?
-1.
-1. Okay. So because there's a reflection, so instead of starting from 1, right, down, down, up, up, it will go backwards. Up, opposite, right? It will be going up, up, right? Down, down, right? So the direction is different, right? Because there's a reflection. To think about the point, you start from lowest and go up, and then go up again, and then go down, and then go down. Okay? And each time you go by a gap of 3, right? Amplitude is 3. So that's another way to think about if your table is correct. Now let's look at the x value, okay? Where is the starting point for x? Cindy?
negative pi.
Yeah, negative pi. Okay, Trudy, can you tell us the rest of them?
Negative pi over 2.
Mm-hmm.
0.
Mm-hmm.
Pi over 2.
Yeah.
And pi.
And pi, yeah. Okay, so I think this one was the same as last one. Last one, is it? I remember seeing it somewhere. Negative pi. Which one was it? Yeah, okay. Last question, right? Shifted to the left, no period change. Okay, so let's follow the table and draw the graph. Have you all finished the graph? Can you raise your hand if you finished the graph? Okay, all right. So please raise your hand if you finished. Let's draw the scale first. Negative pi and pi. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And lowest is at -1. Negative pi is -1. Negative pi over 2 is 2. And those of you have finished the graph, can you also try to find the new origin? Remember we talked about the new origin. Okay, so where do you think the new origin for this one is now? Right, used to be, right, look at the example that we did for the first one, okay? We had a new origin. So think about where is the new origin for this. And then we have 0, 5. 0, 5 will be up here. Pi over 2 will be 2. Right, going up, up, down, down, right? Finally, it will be pi -1. Do not draw a triangle here, all right? These are not straight lines. So this part, first one should be open up, open down. Okay, please raise your hand if you finish the graph. Open down, open up. You ready? Have you finished the picture? Yeah, okay, so where do you think is the new origin? What's the coordinate, right? The origin, like the last example we had, The new origin was at negative pi, negative 1, right? Where is the new origin for this? Anyone? Anyone want to give it a try? What's the new origin? Volunteer, or I have to call names? Hmm? William, what do you think? Where is the new origin?
Negative pi, negative 1.
Negative pi, negative 1. Let me circle that. So that will be like this one. Anyone else? Thank you. Anyone else has something, some other place? Where is the new origin? Eric, what do you think?
I think it's the same thing.
Same place? Everyone got the same place? D-Ray, what about you?
Same.
Same place? Cindy?
Same.
Same place. Okay, let's look back, okay? You guys are close. Okay, half close. All right, so let's take a look how we found the origin. Okay, it's part of the learning, all right, no worries. Origin has to happen on the midline, right? And it has to be the beginning point of the graph, right? Where it used to be. Think about the basic one. The origin means 0, 0, right? That's what origin means. And then because it got shifted, right? It used to be x-axis and y-axis where they cross, we call that origin, right? 0, 0. Now because it got moved, the whole picture moved. So move to the left pi, move down by negative 1, which matches the CD. You see I'm underlining there? So this part is the new origin, please. Because it tells you where the graph, like how the graph was moved. Okay, so let's look at the question then. The CD we have is negative pi 2. So new origin should be at negative pi 2. And let's see how we draw that, right? If we don't know the CD, we have to start by drawing the middle line. Then this one will be the middle line, right? Please draw that out on your paper, okay? Midline. So your new origin has to be on that line, right? And then the starting point is at negative pi. So this one, everybody got it. However, the new origin should be the one that that's where they cross each other. So this is the new origin. Okay, this concept is very important later when we try to find the function. Okay, so this is at negative pi and 2, okay, which is our CD, new origin.
I don't get it.
Which part you don't get it?
The midline.
The midline? Okay.
Yeah.
You mean you don't know how to, where to draw the midline?
Yeah.
Okay, midline is the middle between the highest and the lowest.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so it passes through the points that's in between, right? You have 1 point here, 2 point here. Those 2 points are right in between the 5 and negative 1, the highest and lowest. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to draw the midline and the starting line, right? Starting point line. Then where they cross, that's called the new origin. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so new origin is telling you the CD. So this one, so you got tricked because you thought that the new origin is always on the graph. But that's not the case, right? For sine, it will be on the graph. But for cosine, it's not on the graph, right? Cosine is floating, right? Because the midline is not touching the beginning point. Okay, any question here? All right, so keep that in mind, okay? We don't need a new origin right now, but it will be important later, okay? On the next section. All right, so last question before we go for the break, okay, is this one. This one is the monster one, okay? Save your big boss, okay? So this one, I don't want you to go all the way to table, okay? I would like you to think about how we can get A, B, C, D, right? So because this one, we might need to do a little bit of manipulation, okay? Moving around. So we're gonna leave some space here, write A, B, C, D on the side, okay? We're gonna do something in the blank. So you try it, okay? Think about how we can get A, B, C, D. You can write this form down again, okay? The form for ABCD should look like this, right? This is the, you can call this the general form, okay, of the ABCD, right? ABCD form for sine, cosine, okay? So think about how we can change this into this form, all right? And then write out the ABCD. Kind of like working with story form, right? Because you have learned story form, so I think maybe some of you most of you should be able to get it, okay? So please raise your hand if you have the ABCD, right? Don't move on until we check ABCD. Okay, please raise your hand even if you're not sure, okay, if it's correct. We're gonna go over it. Okay, I'm sure everyone gets the value for A, right? So what do you think the value for A is? William?
I got a very weird answer. I got 24, but I didn't finish the equation yet.
For
So
A, value for A.
yeah,
A is
24.
24. How'd you get that?
I don't know how to explain. I did some very weird math stuff.
Okay, A is definitely not 24.
I know.
Okay, because A is just whatever you see in front of sign, that's A. Okay, so what's A? William?
It's still 24. I haven't finished my equation. I don't know how to finish. So
No, look at here now. Okay, you don't need any calculation. All right, look at that screen.
oh, it's just 2?
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
You are overthinking too much. Okay. So whatever in front of sign, then that's the A. Okay. So A should be always easiest one to find. Good.
Okay.
Okay. What else is also easy to find? Anyone? What else is also easy?
D.
Which one?
D.
D. Okay. D for dog. Okay. What's the D?
1.
1, very good. Okay, D is whatever that's after the brackets, right? So the very last one, that's the D. Okay, so D is 1. The harder part is the thing inside. Okay, Tiana, what do you think the C is?
I don't know.
Did you try it?
Yeah.
Did you try to move it around and then get a C? Do you have something?
Yeah.
Well, it's okay, you can say it.
Okay, I have negative 2 pi plus 2 over 6.
Negative 2 pi over, so what's a C then? Can you say one more time? You said negative 2 pi
Plus 2 over 6.
plus 2 over 6. Well, you have, for this part, you got to continue make it look like this form, right? B bracket x minus c, then you can tell the b, okay? It's where's your x go? You don't have x anymore.
Oh, and x after that.
Oh, you mean the whole thing times x?
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay, all right. It's okay. Later we'll go step by step. Okay. Anyone else? Ray, what's your B and C?
I'd rather not share.
Huh? Come on. Okay. How about story form? Anyone has a story form? Eric, you want to share what you did?
Uh,
What's the story form look like?
I don't
A B C
have.
D form.
Wait, what? Sorry?
Use something with the brackets.
Yeah. Wait. Are you asking for my ABCD?
Yeah, the A B C D.
For C, I got 2, or I got negative 2.
C is negative 2, so it'll be x plus 2, like that.
Yeah.
Okay. What's your B?
Negative 12 pi.
Negative 12 pi. Anything else?
No.
No, okay. And then we have sine and 2 for the A, D is plus 1. Okay, let's put another bracket here. Anyone else got something different? Okay, I guess you guys don't want to share too much for this one, right? This one is a bit confusing. Okay, so let's break it down slowly, okay, one by one. So A and D is just, it's pretty easy, okay? So I'm gonna just copy it first. Okay, so now the thing inside. I'm going to start by writing the 2 pi as 2 pi over 1, right? It's the same. And then inside you have a negative x plus 2 over 6, right? And then plus 1. So this will be the first thing I will start, okay? Because you have a number in front which is not fraction, and then in the bracket you get a fraction. It's difficult to put them together, okay? So the first thing you will do is to write 2 pi as 2 pi over 1. And once you've done that, you will see that the numerator will multiply with the numerator, right? Denominator will multiply with the denominator. So that means the 1 can multiply with the 6, right? So you can write it as, which is the same as 2 pi over 6, negative x plus 2 plus 1. Does it make sense so far? Anyone has question up to here? Okay, you write it as a fraction first, okay? Everything after sign is inside the bracket, right? It's together with the x, okay? Whatever after the bracket is with the y, right? So you should, everything there, you should put them together. Now the next part, right? We want to check with our ABCD form. You want to make sure the x is clean. It doesn't have anything attached to it. Okay, is the x clean right now?
No.
Okay, what's sticking to the x?
Negative.
Negative, right? So we need to take up the negative. So that's called factoring. Okay, so we're going to factor the negative out from the bracket. Okay, so that will make it into negative 2 pi over 6. And then the leftover will become x minus 2 plus 1. So this will be our ABCD form. Okay, so let's put this back up, okay, to there. So our ABCD form should be 2 sine negative 2 pi over 6 x minus 2 plus 1. Okay, so sometimes they will try to mess you up, right, by giving you a form that looks complicated. So you need to move things around a little bit, right? Combine the denominator, and if the x is not clean, take out the coefficient factor. Okay, so let me erase this part. Okay, we need a space for the graph. Okay, so from here we can get the form. Okay, can you show me hands if you understand everything up to here? Okay, please raise your hand. And Kelly, how are you doing? You're able to join us today.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, how much do you understand so far?
Kind of understand, but
Yeah.
I missed translation, so
Yeah, you missed the translation, but this one is kind of like a summary of everything. So I will carry out the later steps, okay? And then maybe you can ask me during the break, okay? Okay, you can still write down the notes. All right, so let's continue then. What's the B then? What's the value for B? William?
Is the b negative 2 pi over 6?
That's correct, okay? So once you put it into the ABCD form, it should be very clear. B is whatever in front of the bracket of the X, right? This part is the B, right? Okay, and then C should be what? Kelly, do you want to try? What's the C?
2.
Yeah, very good. Okay, so C will be 2 is whatever X is subtracting with, right? X minus C, so C is the 2. Okay, once we get A, B, C, D, our next step is to get a story, right? So everyone can start getting the story. When you finish the story, please raise your hand. When you write a story, all you need to look at is A, B, C, D, okay? That's enough to help you write out a story. Okay, Donna, what's a reflection? Donna, are you there?
Y reflect over Y.
Okay, very good. Y-axis. Okay, next one. Tiana, what's the amplitude?
2.
2, very good. Please raise your hand if you finished the story. Okay, William, what's the period?
I got 6.
Okay, and what's the step to get that?
2 pi over 2 pi over 6.
Yeah, make sure
And
you
then
absolute value. Okay, so 6 is correct. Size of space. Kelly, what's the size of space?
Is it 6/4?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Yeah, can you turn that into decimals?
1.5.
Yeah, very good. Okay, it will be easier for like to write it out later. Okay, now translation. Translation, you have to look at CD. Okay, so the first one moving left and right, we call that the phase shift. Okay, going left or right side. So Trudy, what's the phase shift here?
Phase shift is 2.
Yeah, so we are moving to the right by 2. Okay, so you look at the value for C, and then the vertical one going up and down, we call that the vertical displacement. Okay, so what's the vertical displacement? Samantha, what's the vertical displacement?
1.
Yeah, so we are moving up by 1. All right, so now let's get this formula for the y, okay? The table now. All right, so Cindy, now you should know how to get the formula, right? Can you tell us the formula for finding y value?
The y ay plus d.
Yeah, so what's the number? I need the numbers.
2y plus 1.
Yeah, okay, very good. All right, so please finish the table, all right? For the y only, just the y, okay? And raise your hand. Remember, you are doing the sine graph. So make sure you choose the beginning points for sine, okay? Don't use the cosine ones. Raise your hand if you have all the y values. And Kelly, you can work on it too, okay? The y value is something you learned last week too, last class. Okay, Eric, can you tell us the first y values to start?
1,
1, okay, very good.
3,
And then
3,
3, okay. Next one, William. William, it's the next one.
1.
And then
-1.
-1, okay. And then Cindy, last one.
1.
1, okay. So you can see that it goes up, right? And then goes down, right? And then goes down and then goes up. So works just like a sine, right? Go up, go down, go up. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now the x value, right? X value, you need to start with some numbers, right? So what number do we start with, Ray? Ray, are you there? Ray, are you cut off? Okay, Trudy, how about you? Can you tell us what number to start for x?
You start off with 2.
2, where do you get a 2?
It's the C.
C, very good. Okay, you always start with the C value. And then after that, you have to use something to get the rest of them. Right? So what do we...
The SOS.
Okay, so SOS here is 1.5. So how do we get the other point?
You keep adding on.
Keep on adding on. Is it correct, Eric? Should we keep on adding on 1.5?
no.
No. Okay, William, can you tell us, William, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah, should we keep on adding 1.5?
Yes.
Also yes. Okay, how about Cindy? Should we keep on adding 1.5 to get the rest?
I don't know.
Don't know. Okay. Tiana, how about you? What do you think?
Yes.
Yes, also yes from you. Okay. Anyone else want to say no? Because I'm kind of hinting it's no, huh?
Yeah, it's no.
No, huh? Why then? Donna, why no?
Because I'm suspicious.
Because what?
I'm suspicious.
You are what? Suspicious.
It's over y.
Ah, reflection. Thank you, William. Okay, there's a reflection. Okay, remember this is second time now. Okay, some of you still not getting into your head, right? If you have a reflection, right? Look at question 16 that we did before. If you have a reflection over y-axis, that means we are no longer heading to the right side. We are turning around, going to the left. So instead of adding the size of space, you have to do subtraction, right? Because each point, you have to go left, right? Look at the arrow. You're moving to the left, right? Normally, you will be adding. The first question that we did, it doesn't have reflection over y-axis. So it's heading to the right side, okay? Look at the arrow I'm drawing. So you're adding, right? Going to the right, it gets bigger. So you add the size of space. Going to the left, you need to subtract, okay? So remember, put another star there, right? This is the second star. Reflection over y-axis, we need to subtract, okay? Look at the table. We need to subtract 1.5 instead, okay? Not by adding. If there's no reflection over y-axis, then you do adding. Okay, so please finish the table and raise your hand. Actually, finish the whole graph, okay? Finish the table and the whole graph, then raise your hand. Oh, you two already finished, huh? Okay, so Kelly, can you tell us your x values?
2,
Yeah.
0.5,
0.5,
-1,
-1,
-2.5,
yeah,
and -4.
perfect. Okay, so that's the new y values. It should get smaller and smaller. So your points will be heading left. Okay, please raise your hand if you finish the picture. 2, 1. -0.5 is at 3. -1, 1. What? Oops, I drew the wrong place. 1, 2. 2, 1. Wait, hold on. The point doesn't make sense. Did I hear it wrong? Kelly, can you double check? Is that the table that you got? Double check. Are those the number you told me?
I think so.
Okay. You get each time you minus 1.5, right?
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Try one more time. So 2, what's after 2? I think the other one's fine, right? So -1, -2.5, -4. Kelly, what do you have after the 2? Kelly, are you there? Kelly,
Hi. Sorry.
hi. Where did you go?
It froze for a second.
Okay, it's okay. So what's after 2?
Isn't it 0.5?
0.5. Okay, maybe I heard it wrong. I thought it was you said -0.5. It's okay. Now it should be good. Okay. So let's plot it out. Two, 1. 0.53, -1, 1. -2.5 is -1. -4, 1. Okay, so can you guys also find out where is the new origin? Okay, and please draw it out. Where is the new origin? This one is a sine graph, right? So the new origin should be on the graph. Okay, William, can you try it? Where is the new origin now?
2, 1.
Yes, 2, 1. Okay, so if we want to draw it, you'll draw a middle line, right? The midline, and then the starting point is at 2, right? So this is the new origin, which is the CD, okay? 2, 1. All right, so that's it, okay? We'll take a break first, and if you have any question about things here, then you can stay during the break, okay? We have 15 minutes break. Right now it's 6:53, so I'll see you at 5 after, okay, let's do 5 after 7 then, okay?